Greetings and salutations. Second Star right back with more Raid Shadow Legends, and today I just wanted to go over something pretty quickly, something that I just wanted to satisfy my own curiosity on, and I had been asked about it, so I know I'm not the only one who was curious about this. Umbral Enchantress. Let's go on her real quick. Okay, Umbral Enchantress. And this is not a way you would typically gear her. I just was doing some testing. Ordinarily, you'd probably want her, in arena and you put her in a lot of speed sets. You just wanted to go first to ruin the day of your opponent who's trying to buff or debuff or what have you. Umbral Enchantress can stop that in its tracks in arena. But we're not talking about that right now. What we're talking about right now is, does her A1, her Essence Scepter, which attacks one enemy and damage increases as current hit point decreases, does that stack with a Fury set? For those people who don't remember what a Fury set does, because you don't typically use them, because people tend to not really use a Fury set, except in this one case we want to test if the effect damage increases as hit points decrease. So the set has the same ability as Umbral Enchantress's A1. Plarium usually makes it so these kind of damage dealing abilities do not stack. There are some minor exceptions, but for the most part, they always say damage does not stack. A lot of defensive stuff stacks pretty nicely. They also have changed that a little bit too, but I'm just saying in general, attack stuff doesn't stack very well. Defense stuff does kind of stack very well. In this case, I ran 10 fights with her in a Fury set and 10 fights in a defense set. And this is the defense set I was using, so this is more of like a dungeon setup. Slow, but hard hitting for the gear level that I have. The critical points here are her defense here is on 3,600, her crit rate 86% and 144. In her Fury set, those the crit rate and crit damage is almost the same. It's like within 1% in crit damage, and then within like 4% in crit rate. I was very careful to get those two things very similar. In her defense set, she does have, I think, 200 more defense, so she didn't have a lot more defense in her defense set, but that's okay. The end results were still able to discern which one was dealing more damage. And I have to say, between the 10 fights, where I just measured every single A1 that was hit. I went every single A1 that they hit. I measured what her health rate was, because the percentage matters, with her A1. I measured what buffs they had, whether she had an attack up or they had a defense down or what have you, and I worked all that map as much as I could. A lot of those numbers are kind of opaque, but you are kind of able to get kind of like a gut feel, a comparison between the kind of damage you could expect an attack to do given the scenario. And what I found consistently over all 10 fights is that the A1s in the Fury set did more damage on average, despite having less defense. And she's a defense-based champion, so she's calculating defense on all this, and it just seems that for whatever reason, she's doing a lot more damage in a Fury set. I won't go through all 20 fights, of course, but this is just one example. This is her in a Fury set, and I have a counterattacker in the team too, so I can get more A1s. Granted, they do only 70% of the damage, it being a counterattack, but still able to extrapolate this all through a fight. Every time she was in a Fury set, the fight was faster, took less time, and she did more damage on her A1s. I did not calculate the damage on the AoEs, but I do suspect that the AoE damage on average was greater in a defensive set, just because you have the numbers. Since the numbers are bigger, the damage multipliers are larger. So she being a defense-based champion, it all kind of comes out in the wash at the end. But just talking about the A1 and the Fury set stacks with her Fury-like ability, I think it does. Granted, it's only like between 10-15%, so it's not a lot. I can't just ignore the fact that the A1s in the Fury set just did more damage. So I think that's just an interesting insight. I don't think Plarium probably intended that to work out that way. It's certainly not game changing. It's not like a bug or a glitch or anything, because at least at this gear level, you're certainly not going to notice a huge amount of difference, using A1s, because the A1 is just it's the attack you have to make when you can't do a special ability, right? Now, where that is kind of interesting here is that her A3 does put all her A2 on like a 5-turn cooldown, and so all she can do is an A1. So in that regard, it is helpful in a dungeon scenario. But again, this is just to satisfy curiosity, because you're not really going to take Umbral Enchantress in dungeons much. I mean, she does help you get through waves, for sure. Blocking the ability for the enemy to buff himself, blocking, the provokes and the unkillables. Don't get me wrong, she is good in dungeon, but where she truly shines is as an arena ruiner of plans for your opponent. On an offense team especially. Fantastic. And you gear her in a completely different way, and you're really not going to care about what her A1 is doing. But all that aside, it was just, I thought, super satisfying to me to make the determination that something that probably isn't supposed to happen, the stacking of damage and the stacking of ability on an A1, seems to have materialized in this case. Again, it's not earth-shattering information, but the amount of time and energy I spent doing it, I thought I at least wanted to present it to you for anyone who's interested. I have come to the conclusion that a Fury set stacks with Umbral Enchantress's Fury-like A1. Alright, so that's really all I had to say about it. It probably didn't warrant an entire video, but if someone's Google searching, does Umbral Enchantress's A1 stack the Fury set, I want that to come up, because I want the answer out there for the public. So there you have it. Hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, give me a comment. If you have conflicting information, please let me know. Maybe I did something wrong somewhere. Who knows? But the way that I've done the math, it just seems it's been consistent every single time. All 10 fights, the A1 in the Fury set did more damage than the A1 in the defense set, even when the Umbral Enchantress had a higher defense by a couple hundred points. So I think, to me, that's solid enough information. Please leave a comment below if you have anything to add. Subscribe if you enjoyed the content, and we'll make this short and we'll get out of here. All right, thank you guys. Take care, and I'll talk to you next time.